It's Formula 2's time to shine for the last time in Europe in 2024. Welcome to the Baku City Circuit for another round of Formula 2 in 2024. The practice session's underway. Let's join our commentators Alex Brundle and Alex Jakes. All the latest news.
Street circuits in the past have been very good for me. Obviously, last street circuit I was on was Monaco. We were on the podium, and then prior to that, we had a good time in Macau. So maybe Baku might be a bit like Macau. So let's see. Obviously, the expectation is low. I've never driven a Formula 2 car before. I haven't tested anything. Yeah, I've been thrown in, but irrelevant. I want to do a great job. I think the Victor was 10th off in Monza, so the car is clearly competitive, and yeah, I'm hoping to make the most of it.
Luke Browning, third place finisher in the Formula 3 Championship, has completed his time in that championship and immediately promoted to Formula 2. He'll be in for the remaining rounds of the season in place of Zach O'Sullivan, two-time race winner this year, Zach O'Sullivan. Also, the other driver changes for you. Gabriele Mini is in for Ollie Behrman, whose strange season continues. He's subbing in for Kevin Magnussen, who's been banned for a race after accruing 12 penalty points. And Christian Mansell, 5th in the Formula 3 standings this year, is in for Roman Stanek for the rest of the year at Trident. Here is our championship leader.
Isaac Hadjar comes in to this weekend with half a foot potentially towards the world of Formula 1. There's still an option potentially at VCARB. A lot of drivers though in for that seat this end of the year for Hadjar. Is going to be critical in terms of potentially staking a claim towards that seat, and especially with the efforts, with the very impressive efforts of Gabriel Bortoleto in recent times, challenging that young Frenchman. Bortoleto very strong to take that feature race win in Monza. Now just over 10 points between them at the front of the championship, so the pressure is on over the lead of the series. There's the driver jumping in for Ollie Behrman. Gabriele Mini turns laps in a Formula 2 car.
It was heartbreak for Gabriele Mini in one of the most extraordinary title deciders we've ever seen in Monza in Formula 3. Alex, you were commentating on that race. It was an amazing spectacle to watch. What impressed me about Mini, though, is how he took the manner of defeat. Obviously distraught not to take that title, but gathered himself, showed a lot of grace, congratulated the champion, and gets a chance this weekend, I think. Perfect opportunity, really, to get those memories out of his head and try and stake his claim in Formula 2.
Now you watch a race and a driver hasn't necessarily got the result they want at the end, but you can't really pick anything they could have done differently. That's what I saw from Gabriele Mini in the final Formula 3 round in Monza. Could have gone either way. Leonardo Fornaroli making a beautiful pass eventually on the final lap of the race. It's quite an incredible race. If you haven't watched it, chuck it on catch up, go and watch it. It's brilliant motor racing. Yeah, I echo your sentiments there. Mini really extremely gracious in defeat and demonstrated what he could do behind the wheel.
Let's hear from another one of our debutants this weekend with an interesting fact behind his appearance in Formula 2. Let's hear from Christian Mansell.
When I do exercise as a whole, I count this as exercise. You know, my blood sugar would tend to drop just very gradually, very slowly. So me thinking that this might be potentially a bit more of a physical weekend, I am going to obviously put some precautions in place, and overall it shouldn't be too difficult, but diabetes is a bit of a world of its own thing. It has its own mind sometimes. I can do everything right, but it still might not necessarily work in my favor. But we'll always have things in place to help me out as a diabetic.
Yeah, type 1 diabetic for Christian Mansell. He's proud to be competing in Formula 2 and talking about having to manage the condition as well as get used to the most powerful car he'll have ever driven, Alex.
And it's a step up, isn't it, Formula 2, in terms of the steering weight. You hear drivers say that, especially with this bigger 18-inch wheel and tyre setup that challenges the drivers in terms of the inertia of the tyre as they turn the steering wheel. No power steering available in these cars. There is progress towards making the steering weight lighter, more accessible at this level and also at the level of Formula 3. But they are still, make no mistake, incredibly physical machines. And it's a shock. It's always a shock. Every time you move up into the next level of motor racing, especially single-seater motor racing, I always say the first weekend, there is no way you can prepare for it. There are muscles. The new car will work. You simply cannot train. And there'll be some sore necks out there, even for drivers who finished a Formula 3 season very recently.
They'll be getting used to the increased power, the increased grip, and this remarkable section we have where you spend so much time out of the 16th turn of the racetrack, then the track gets ever wider. Haven't we seen that in the past with multiple restarts in the second tier? Then you go to the narrow stuff further around the lap. We're going over the line with Azerbaijan, who's putting on the brakes after a huge stint. Flat to the floor, Alex.
And he is. Flat to floor around this circuit, super dusty and dirty, as this circuit tends to be early on in the running. It is a temporary circuit here in Baku, so the track evolution that you see through the weekend, incredibly prevalent here in how the cars are operated, how the cars are run. They're on the soft tyre. Those of you who watch a Formula 2 week in, week out will be thinking, hold on a minute, that's normally the option. Well, this weekend, it's the prime. The hardest tyre available is the soft. The super soft is the softest tyre available, so they don't have too many options beyond those two. Tyre management definitely going to be more of a factor here at what is one of the lowest degradation racetracks of the year, for exactly the reason that you can see. Dust, dirt on the surface needs to come up, and the circuit streets don't deliver much abrasion and energy to the tyre.
Heading our way through to the narrowest part of the entire season. Always great to reacquaint yourself with the castle section, and it's not very wide in that part of the circuit. We have seen plenty of drama in that part of the circuit. Feature race wins. Oh my word! Correction. Isaac Hadjar, and that just underlines what Alex was telling you a few moments ago. Not much in the way of grip. You don't see many corrections there by the time the Formula 1 cars get to qualifying. They, of course, have more grip and more power, but you don't want to have a little bit of opposite lock at that speed when the walls are so close up.
Through turns 12 and 13 as you come over the rise there. Baku also notoriously windy. In fact, the circuit, the name of this city, shortening for the Persian of Windy City. It literally is a place named after the prevailing wind. We're expecting strong winds this weekend, headwind as they come down this extremely long start-finish straight. Let's see how this lap pans out for Isaac Hadjar. It's up to P1 at the moment, and you can expect every lap these drivers come across the line to be a jump forward. First, because they're going to improve within themselves, and secondly, because the track is going to move forward massively. Let's have an off-board of that little moment.
Oh, that is a tiny moment at huge speed that could have had massive ramifications for our championship leader. We're qualifying later today to set the grid for both races. This is the only practice session that the drivers get, and we're checking in with Alpine Junior and one of our 14 race winners this year, Victor Martins, part of the Alpine setup, and he's got a brand new teammate for this weekend with Luke Browning jumping in, Williams Academy driver taking the place of Zach O'Sullivan, and placing a car off the racing line, crucial in this part of the circuit. As we can see, the leaves off the racing line, grip will be low, and that is very important. Less communication, less data available to team and driver, so drivers have to be super sensible with jumping off the racing line. Victor Martins has gone past Gabriel Portoletto, McLaren Jr. in the background, being linked, Alex, to the second Sauber seat. the last one that we know is up for grabs. We, of course, need to get an answer on the V-carb situation as well, heading into F1 2025.
Bortoletto, I think, has done the job for that. Brilliant win last time out in Monza, and let's see if he can convert that again this weekend. Interesting there for Bortoletto. Smart stuff, gets right off line look, and this is how you want to manage a qualifying lap if you possibly can. Start a lap behind someone else who's finishing a lap ahead of you, because you need that toe down the front straight, but you really don't need too much more through the rest of the lap. So it's only that front area of the circuit where drivers will need to be right on top of it. Gabriele Mini right on top of that through the exit there, trying to catch his Prema.
It's really slow lap times out there if you compare what we've run before around this circuit, so they are really struggling to find any sort of feel out there at this early stage of the weekend. It is the first on-track running of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix weekend. Different part of the season, different part of the calendar to when we've run previously. The track temperature 33 degrees, the air temperature is 28 out there, but plenty of cloud cover, Alex.
There is. It's much cooler than it has been through the rest of the weekend so far, and I think it's much cooler than it will be through the weekend as it progresses. So they'll be feeling a decent amount more grip, especially on this soft compound tyre as a result of the conditions, not as a result of the circuit. Easy to get caught out by that as you move through the weekend and overcook the tyre pressure to try and deliver the performance. Paul Aaron continuing on through the exit of turn 16 onto the long run to the line in his high-tech. Driver who led the championship at one stage has fallen away slightly from that lofty position, seeing as he does fourth in this series at the moment, after what's been a little bit of a difficult run of races by his standards for Paul Aaron. 18th and 16th back in Spa, 20th in retirement in Monza. He'll be looking to get back to the podium finishing ways that saw him lead the point standings by mid-year.
Yeah, Paul Aaron yet to win a race so far this year, but as you say, Alex, on a really tough run, no score in the last 5. They are way off the pace compared to what we saw last year. To tell you that, F1 bound, the man who would have been in this car if Kevin Magnussen had not hit Pierre Gasly at the second chicane in Monza. Oliver Behrman's time in practice, Behrman topped every session here last year, even with bent steering in qualifying, a 1:54.0. They're doing 2-minute laps at the moment. We're seeing corrections at parts of the circuit where we would normally see them flat. It is clearly, really, even for an opening session of the weekend, way off the grip they expected.
Thank you to the two Alexes over there, and we're now got our systems back up and running as well. Just waiting for the camera. Alongside me in the commentary box is Jack as well. Omi's back with us tomorrow and Sunday for race day. Morning, Jack. How are you doing?
A little bit tired, but we're doing all right.
And I
Ready for
suppose,
some F2 today.
and I suppose you stayed up and watched the Grand Tour as well, did you?
I didn't even know it was on, mate. I'll be honest.
Did you say you didn't know it was on?
I didn't even know it was on, mate. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it came on at 1 AM last night, and me and Megan both stayed up and watched it. So I'm running on 3 hours sleep. She's not even up yet.
Hang on, about the same.
Yes, we're just sort of getting ourselves through this one. And today, top 2-minute .196. It's a cold morning here in the Windy City. It's a cold morning here in our UK studio. How's it where you are?
Right-ish. It's kind of cold because, you know, freezing last night, and I kept my window open, so like it's a bit cold up here, but I've got a hoodie and stuff on, so I'll be fine.
I am much the same, wearing a hoodie in the comms box as well, trying to get as much heat as possible. It looks very dark and cold and gloomy out there. It's only, of course, 10 AM over in Baku. They run 2 hours later than what we do. So they start at 3 o'clock, the race on Sunday, slightly earlier as well than what they usually have it, at 4 o'clock. But, of course, because the setting sun doesn't often change here, because we've moved the time of year. Christian Mansell locking up as well in his first weekend here in the series. So many different F2 drivers though, Jack, after quite well. Let's see, 2 of them have been promoted up to Formula 1, Ollie Behrman and Franco Colapinto. So we've got new drivers everywhere in this series, and Zach O'Sullivan not taking part in the remainder of the season due to budgeting. but he's got a Williams factory drive, but it's so expensive in F2. So a question for you, very early in the morning at 8:16 in the UK, do F2 drivers get bang for the buck they pay with the machinery that we've had this year?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm, of course, not an expert on F2 funding and stuff, but it's just sad for me to see such a talented driver like O'Sullivan. I'm not going to argue, like, oh, this guy's the next Ayrton Senna or something, but he's a very talented driver. It's really sad to see him go. I hope he gets a ride somewhere else, because he's a very talented racer.
Speaking of a driver who could be the next Ayrton Senna, Gabriel Bortoleto, who is now in active conversation with Sauber over that second seat alongside Nico Hülkenberg next year. He's just now had a little bit of an issue through the castle section that he's had to take through. This is down towards turn 15, downhill bottom half of the circuit. We see so many drivers lock up down there. They've put new barriers here alongside the circuit, so it's a slightly different configuration to what we had last year. There's no overall big change to the laps, just a new positioning of boards and changes to apexes, so on. There's still the same amount of corner names as they fly through turn 19 and then down the back stretch, open up the DRS as well at the centre line. DRS is now 100 metres extra than it was last year. Should promote a lot more overtaking down towards this first corner, and Bortoleto jumps up into 9th place, 201.078. What do you think of Baku then, Jack? Because sometimes it's good, sometimes it's boring, and hopefully this year we should have similar racing now with both sets of cars, because both F2 and F1 have sort of got to grips with everything now.
I actually always enjoyed Baku. I think it's one of the better street circuits on the calendar. I really enjoy it, especially with the new DRS zone that we've got this year. Because I think that's a great idea. I know we're not going to have DRS for much longer, but, you know,
yeah, I think
we've got a very, very interesting circuit to deal with. Also, I think this must be one of the longest straights in all of Formula 1, surely.
I think it is. It's quite a long gap between everything as well. I'll just grab some notes I've got to file back in. A little bit of a replay here.
Oh, Marty.
Touching the wall. That's coming through the top of turn 13. I hate that part of the track. 9 times out of 10, you're off it. It never works down there.
Yeah, and that's the thing about a street circuit as well. One mistake, you are in those barriers, and it is gonna hurt, so...
Yeah, and no more Romain Grosjean for everyone to blame. Gabriel Mini goes on third at 159.632. Antonelli in the Prema across the line jumps up to second place, 159.009. Behrman, of course, not racing this weekend. He's got the call up to Formula 1 to replace Kevin Magnussen. Let's have a quick word with Antonelli.
It's great that, you know, the news is finally out official. So, you know, it's nice now that I can say that I'm officially in the grid next year. Obviously, there's still 3 rounds to go in F2, so the goal is to finish off well because we all deserve it. Also, the team deserve it. So the goal is still the same. So finish well in F2, and then we'll be thinking about F1 for next year.
Yeah, both Premas have been announced as Formula 1 drivers for 2025. Ollie Behrman is going to Haas with a link to Ferrari in the near future, possibly after Lewis Hamilton's 2-year deal if he decides that's enough. So watch out for 2027 for Behrman possibly being in the main team. But we also have the fact that the man who is replacing Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes, Andrea Antonelli, was officially announced on the Saturday of Monza, but of course he had that accident on Friday. But even so, Jack, he is a talent like no other. We've seen him sort of develop this year in F2, and certainly he's just getting better and better week in, week out.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few drivers out there that have just got better this season. Hadjar's my main pick for a driver who's just got so much better this year than he was last year. He's a very, very good racer, Hadjar. The question is, where do we see him going next year if he wins the championship? Because as far as I'm aware, that RB seat should probably be going to Liam Lawson, I'd imagine.
It will do.
Unless, I hope it does anyway. That guy deserves an F1 seat.
They could just.
I was hoping the Sauber seat would go to here for chair, but clearly that ship sailed, I think.
Sadly so, yeah. So Porsche looks like he's going to spend yet another year in the wastelands as well. Even Valtteri Bottas, who I'm very surprised at this year. Valtteri Bottas in a 20-driver championship is 22nd in the standing. He has not got not one single point. And Franco Colapinto in one Grand Prix finished in 12th position, got higher. Yellow flag down in sector 1. So someone's gone either straight on at turn 1 or turn 2 to bring out those yellow flags. And we know what Baku's like, Jack. It could be a million-point turn. I'm not hearing anything in my ears.
Actually, Baku's a...
Go on, Jack.
Yeah, Baku can be a fairly chaotic racetrack, I'll say that.
It is a million-point turn having to be executed, but the green flags come back out. Browning almost touched the wall. Coming through the back half of turn 18, you can see he just touched the inside and rear stepped out the curb. That's how tricky the conditions are. Track temperature, 33.4 degrees as well. So it's warm, but the wind is still picking everything up. It still says track wet, to be fair. I don't know why it says that. Let's have a look and see what the weather says there. Can't
Is
see
there
anything.
anywhere?
No. I think maybe it's a dew point. It says wet on my monitor. Maybe it's a dew point somewhere around it. Roman Stanek is the driver who went straight on. And with his Mecha Chrome engines, wants to find a way out.
Stanek's not racing, I don't think Stanek's racing. I think
Yes, it's Mansell. It's Mansell. Sorry, sorry, my fault. I'm looking at the wrong timing monitor because on our timing monitors, and to be honest with you, it's not. You at home can see the same issue. The timing monitor that we're looking at on one screen has got different names to one on the other. So there's another yellow flag out there on the circuit. So we need to get that restarted. Let's just see what this yellow flag's for. For Maney. No, yellow flag sectors 1 and 2. That's turn 3. So someone's got straight on down at the exit of this straight where Maney is now. Can't see any flashing yellows. Let's have a look down to the braking zone. No one there. So, oops. Nearly a massive slap into the wall for Kush Miney. Yeah, it's turn 4. So it's where we're at now, where there are double yellow flags. So it's downhill. Can't see who it is. It's not telling us on a monitor. Why aren't they showing anything these days? Have you noticed?
Yeah, I mean, FOM TV direction isn't the best
Red
at
flag.
the moment, I'll say that.
Ah, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Is that Marty?
That's a Red Bull car. I can't see the number.
It's 21.
That
It
would
is Marty.
be Marty.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's Jose Maria Marti. They've flashed up on the screen now. So Jose Maria Marti spun down at 5 and 6. He's left it backwards at the exit of 6. He's in the escape road, but he's in a dangerous position. Let's see how he did it. He's going to loop it round.
What place to spin?
Oh, that's...
Really weird spin.
Didn't De Vries do that exact same thing a couple of years ago?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Or was it
And Roundy went... A really weird place to spin, though.
It really is. It's exit at turn 5 and 6. Oh, and Fittipaldi, who tops the session, has also hit the wall, coming through top of turn 14 as well. So red flags out then. Let's fix our obviously errored timing screen and hand back over to the commentary team of Alex. Oh, it is actually raining. Yeah, it's raining. Look, Jack, can you see? It is now raining in Baku. There are raindrops coming out. So it has started to rain. The track is wet. And now let's see what they're going to do. Here comes the rain now with the brollies. Wow. Here's Alex Bundle and Alex Jakes.
Bit of Powdy, he might have brushed the wall, but he's currently top on a 158.2. A reminder that with the rain falling, with no real rubber laid on the circuit, we're a long way off where we will end up in terms of the pole time later on. Half an hour session coming your way later today. We're setting the grid for both races, both sprint and feature. So it's a crucial session. Hope you can join us for that. Changes being made to the Prema of Kimi Antonelli.
Well, that was just a bit of, I think it was just the valve cap they put on top of the tyre so they don't lose it there as they made a tyre pressure change for Kimi Antonelli. The rain falling relatively hard now, which will put an end to the dry running. And it's going to be interesting to see how many people now choose to run again. We're not expecting rain for the rest of the weekend.
You're looking at Gabriel Bortoleto, who went from last to first in Monza. I want to hear what he has to say about it.
Winning from last, it's almost impossible. It's not impossible, but it's almost impossible. And then I knew we had a great pace, so I was expecting to get good points, if I'm honest. But winning it's completely, I was not expecting. But I wanted to try to finish in the podium because I think that's what our pace showed that we could. But also Zane was very fast, so I was like, it's gonna be tough to get him. But yeah, just super happy that I was able to win and to be the first one to do this in F2.
Yep, commentated on a driver who won from 21st back in 2016. The man who did the double here, Antonio Giovinazzi, who came into the second tier, Alex, and was thinking that he was going to end up maybe racing in the DTM. Had an amazing season, beat his own expectations, forged a path to Formula One, proudly represented Italy in Formula One, something that Kimi Antonelli will do next year, and then took victory in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The pride of Ferrari as he did so. Great career, great guy, and it's amazing what you can do in this championship, whether what's gone before, and for our 3 new starters this weekend, it gets you into an opportunity where if you perform, you have a chance to move up to Formula One, even if when you begin the year, you don't truly believe that you can do it, like was the case with Antonio. He knew he was quick, but he didn't see a pathway to Formula One. Performing in this championship, brilliant title battle with Pierre Gasly in 2016, and back when we called it GP2, that forged his path.
You've got to keep on forging forward, certainly. I mean, how many drivers have we seen snatch a win over the years, a pivotal win, which has given them the opportunity and given them the confidence to move forward? You know, somebody asked me this week whether I think the safety car rule, where they can pit under the safety car and that delivers those scenarios, was fair and should be rescinded and so on and so forth, because because it gives young drivers, you know, a chance to be at the front when maybe their qualifying didn't merit that. And I said, absolutely not. This is part of strategy. This is part of Formula 2. They're preparing them for the next stage of motorsport. And part of the next stage of motorsport, for me, is that some weekends in a Formula 1 car, maybe if you're not in an absolutely front-running Formula 1 car, the strategy is going to throw you into a position where you might score some points. And finding a way, in spite of your pace, to be able to score those points, it is a big factor in what's going to make you a successful racing driver at the next level. And that's what a driver like Gabriel Bortoleto has proved there. He found his way to the front and he stayed there.
It's a really good point. Part of this championship's DNA is to prepare the drivers for Formula One. It's an amazing venue, this one, a really unique one. Victor Martins is going to tell us about this circuit.
Challenging track, you know, from start to the end of the weekend. It all starts from today, getting the right information, the right things for tomorrow, to get the confidence straight away in free practice. Then analyze the things about the car, about myself, the driving, and then be ready for quali. And then it's all about mastering the track from turn 1 to last corner, getting a good toe, a good track position, and getting close to the wall. We can even touch them, as we saw with Bierman last year.
They had a good rookie rivalry, didn't they, last year? Victor Martins and Oliver Bearman. Victor Martins, the top rookie last season. The new car, changing the order and the understanding that some teams had of their machinery. As you get a look at some of the great balconies, there's some great views around this circuit. It goes around the 12th century walls. You've got the old tower as well that you'll see many times this weekend on the broadcast. There are some phenomenal restaurants in the old town as well that do portion sizes that you wouldn't believe. And to be honest,
details.
Yeah, and to be honest, Alex Brundle wouldn't finish because, you know, the man's an athlete, all right?
So I claim. So I still claim, and will continue to claim for many years. It's stopped raining. Oh, no, it hasn't. No, it's continuing. It's continuing to rain. It's just raining slightly less hard. So let's see if we see any track action through to the end of the session. Big risk here. if you run in wet conditions. Because of that first braking zone, it's just so easy to lock up and go straight on. They're a little bit light on tyre temperature anyway, but a great circuit. With, as you say, with the circuit really installed in the city, you can actually... So many of these street circuits, you can see circuit wherever you look. But here, it's easy to transit through the city, not knowing the racetrack is there, really, until you arrive at the paddock and go, oh yeah, we're at a racetrack.
Let's hear from another driver speaking to us yesterday. This is Zane Maloney talking to us about the points battle in the championship.
I think you're always looking at points, of course. In terms of how I'm driving on track, once I get on track, that goes out the window. I think that you know who you're competing against in the championship. You know from that aspect of things what you're trying to do. But I think we're all just trying to win races and be on pole and do the best job possible. So from that side of things, I'm just pushing as hard as I can every time I get in the car, and then the points come after that.
This is a circuit, Alex, where if you hook things up, you can do the double. We've seen it with Antonio Giovinazzi. We've seen it with Oliver Behrman last year. Zane Maloney's 30 points away from the lead of the championship. Doing the double, and we have no idea who's going to be the form driver this weekend. But if you could, he absolutely inserts himself in the situation. And if he's a contender to win the title, Alex, he's part of that Sauber Academy with that drive not yet secured by anyone, even a 10-time Grand Prix winner like Valtteri Bottas.
Well, when you look at that direct battle between he and Gabriel Bortoleto, it almost could be considered a battle over that seat. Both drivers coming off a really nice run of form. Maloney's not been out of the points since Hungary, podium last time out. He has had a double podium this year back in Silverstone. It's been a really strong year for Maloney, and I absolutely agree. A circuit where he can use his experience as well to try to benefit. The track layout around here merits those drivers who are returning just a little bit more than the rookies because of its complexity. It's a little bit like Saudi in that way, where you've just got to have that confidence behind the steering wheel. So let's see if this is the weekend for Maloney. Could easily be the weekend he hoovers up towards Bortoleto and Hadjar in the championship.
The green light has been on for a while. It's been on for 4 minutes, in fact, but because of the rain in the air, no one risking it immediately on the resumption of the session, which is why we've been wittering on filling the gap. And Isaac Hadjar, 1.9 seconds away. You can see it's a really greasy surface, and you wouldn't... I know this is the only session the drivers get. I know that we're coming to the sharp end of the championship now. 6 races to go before we crown our champion. And the names that you join when you join that roster of Formula 2 champions, truly special. We'll find out in 6 races' time who succeeds Théo Pourchaire as our champion. Another driver being linked, by the way. So that second's helpless. I mean, it's quite a long list of names being attached to that. You're looking at another one there in Gabriel Bortoleto. 10 minutes to go. Drivers are out there out of necessity, Alex, because they don't get any other sessions for the rest of the weekend that don't carry points.
Yeah, well, the teams also need to get a feel for the things like ride height, management of front wings, and consumable parts as well throughout the weekend. What's your brake wear going to be? What's the correct ride height to run the cars out down that long front straight? So at a certain point, the drivers are simply asked to run, and then the team eventually after that tell them to run, because they need to know some critical factors throughout the weekend. They'll be heading out to do a couple of practice starts, as you just see the two Invictas doing. Christian Mantle's been picked up for rejoining unsafely. We didn't actually see his rejoin when he went down the runoff area of turn 2, but it was obviously a little bit feisty.
Yeah, he'd been pinged by race control for that, so maybe an explanation required from him in his first session in Formula 2, having graduated from Formula 3, 5th place finisher, and involved in that final round, that dazzling final round back in Monza. Leo Fornaroli took the title, and he will be competing in Formula 2 next year. And Lindblad will be in Formula 2 as well next year, but back in 2024, we're looking at Jack Crawford, one of 14 different race winners this year. Had a great performance when he won the feature race in Spain. Wondered if that was the moment to kick on in the championship, but he always seems to have pace across the course of the weekend. but it's always so important to build your weekend as well. He's the 5th placed driver coming in to this 12th round of the year.
Want to try to begin the weekend with a decent run. Crawford has had a decent run into this weekend. A lovely point-scoring run for him through the middle of the season. American driver finding his way to another set of point-scoring finishes back in Monza. I think he's sort of been the dark horse of that top 5, Jack Crawford. Not a driver that you think of as in the hunt for championship contention, but driving himself slowly into that contention, following Kimi Antonelli as he makes his way through the extremely fast turns 12 and 13 of the racetrack, 14, and then the big braking zone 15 with the wall that beckons you on the outside before 16, the final corner proper. By the time they get going and the track gets rubbered in of the racetrack, but in conditions like this or early on when
there's another yellow flag. Sorry to cut across you, Alex. There's a yellow flag out there on the circuit as we take a look at Franco Colapinto. Say hello to his old tyres and into the wall. Hard goes one of the... Well, that's one of the MPs, isn't it? So, it's going to be a red flag for sure come out. And which one is it? It's Ollie Goethe in just his second session there, Jack. He's gone straight into the wall at 10:15.
Yeah, I'm going to imagine he's locked up and just gone straight into the wall. A pretty hard hit and really unfortunate for a talented driver, because I do like Ollie Goethe. I think he's a great driver. It's just unfortunate to see him into the wall.
Such an easy part of the track to go off at as well. It's a downhill braking zone, and just snatch the inside, you're going to go straight off into the wall. So Goethe off into the wall, red flags out, quite a bit of damage as well on that MP, so they'll see what they get to do. Yeah, to be fair, 6 for 43 to go. Do you reckon that's because of the conditions and as Alex Jake said, the sort of grip nature of the circuit right now? It was an oily surface and they're on slick tyres.
Might have something to do with it, might not. Might just be him having a bit of a you know, just a driving error. As you can see, locks up, bang, straight into the wall. No grip at all.
No, there was more grip on the inside of this microphone I'm holding right now than there was on that circuit. Just comes downhill, and as you say, locks up the inside and does not stand a chance when that happens. It's such a tight apex that drivers have been saying for years they've wanted that corner changed. They have not. The apex akin to bring it more into towards the corner, and it has not worked out. So red flags out again, and I agree with what you say, Joe. That might be the end of the session. They're headed back to the world feed as well, but red flags out.
No room for error, and that car is nestled in the Tech Pro. The young German driver, another graduate mid-season from Formula 3 to Formula 2, finds himself in the barrier, and the time is ticking down. So it's going to be, Alex, an unrepresentative practice session. We've had rain as well, and at a circuit where you want the most confidence, really, anywhere other than Monaco for the entire season, we've had limited practice again.
And that's a problem for the rookies, isn't it? It's a real problem for the rookies and the drivers coming to this championship for the first time this weekend. The next time they turn a wheel, having done sort of 7, 8 or 9 laps. Gary Mini's done 9 laps of the racetrack. He now will have to qualify a Formula 2 car on super soft tyres later on around an incredibly tricky venue. That's super tough for these drivers who will have second more grip, second more performance when they jump back behind the wheel of the car, and will have 1 lap effectively to go and extract that performance. Monumentally difficult challenge, which is why we see drivers with experience do so well here. Good session for Kimi Antonelli though, finds himself 3rd in the Prix.
So Oliver Goethe into the barrier. We've seen a couple of cars off, including Christian Mansell, one of 3 driver changes for this weekend. With all cars back in the pit lane, the recovery vehicle on the circuit. We thank the marshals who are going to be busy all weekend long. Just the nature of going racing. You can see the runoff that we were discussing a few moments ago momentarily, but it is a real pinch point on the circuit. Can sometimes be moments of brinkmanship in qualifying when one car's off the racing line. Brendan Hartley, Pierre Gasly found that out in Formula One a couple of years ago. Gabriele Mini is one of the 3 new drivers on the grid. This is a super sub appearance for Oliver Behrman, who will see out the season. We say goodbye to the Ferrari Academy driver. We say hello to a man who's embedded in the Alpine Academy. He's been rated very, very highly for a number of years, Mini. The core speed, absolutely not in question. And then it's about adding all the other elements that make you an elite driver at this level.
Yeah, and it's a totally different driving style to be brought up from Formula 3 to Formula 2, the big power of the car, getting the car in on the brakes, turn slowly in the middle, and then powering it out using that traction. Where we don't often see the difficulty is delivering that peak lap time. The talent is the talent, and quite clearly Gabriele Mini has that talent to be able to extract the maximum from a racing car over a qualifying lap. Where we do tend to see the differential is over the race distance, in a little bit of tyre management, a little bit of total physical preparation, which you just cannot have until you've driven the racing car over a race distance in anger. And so often, as Gabriele Mini has done there very nicely in his Prima, sitting only 0.6 of a second, which in the circumstances behind Kimi Antonelli is a very, very good effort. You don't see it there. You see it through the race distance. Let's see how he gets on in the long feature race.
It's Fittipaldi from Miney, from Antonelli, Maloney, Hauger, Mini, and then the driver you're looking at, Victor Martins, Mansell, Correa. And our championship leader, Hadjar, is in 10th after having a very unusual round in Monza where he wasn't able to add to his points tally. The driver who has the most wins of anyone this year, with 4 on the board, and the championship lead by 10.5 points. As we hit the final 2 minutes of practice, the session will resume according to race control in a minute's time.
Let's go.
We'll get a chance to go out there. And also race control have noted Amory Cordeal, who's going to be investigating after the session. Failing to follow the race director's instructions about where you complete your practice starts at the end of the pit lane.
We did see several drivers lining up down there on the left-hand side, and it appeared drivers had to make a pretty wide turn around them. So we'll see what comes of that, and we'll see if this session is due to be restarted.
So we will get a green flag. The cars will go out there. I get a chance to practice the launch off the line, which is important to them, and that is why we are getting a run. They're going to have to replace that Tech Pro at turn 15 before Formula One run on circuit, but it is essentially all about giving the drivers an opportunity to practice a start that we are resuming the session for. And the sun now shining next to the Caspian Sea, and most of the field heading out onto the circuit. And we're into the final minute of a practice session, which has contained quite a lot. 3 new starters for this weekend, Browning, Mini and Mansell. And we've had a look at this distinctive track with the Old Town, with the long runoff down at turn number 1. We've had a couple of cars go deep into the first turn, a couple of cars go deep into the second turn, and drivers really struggling with the high-speed stuff. Low grip, leaves off the racing line, dirty, dusty and plenty for our debutants to get up to speed with what is always one of the most thrilling F2 rounds of the entire year. A round last year completely dominated by Prema and Oliver Behrman, topping every single session, including taking pole position with the steering wheel out of alignment.
Yeah, the rain will set the circuit back as well for these young drivers, so they won't see the progression. They won't get quite as close to where they will be later on in qualifying. Obviously, Formula One cars remove a huge amount of dirt, dust, just because of purely the amount of downforce they're making, the width of the cars, the power of the cars, and how fast they're moving. So they're like hoovers, cleaning up the racetrack for these young drivers. Often, by the end of free practice, they get a feel for what the racetrack might be like after FP1. They're not going to get that feel now because of the amount of rain that they have had around the circuit. So it's going to be even more guesswork as Kimi Antonelli makes his way through that castle section, turn 7, 8, 9, 10 of the racetrack. They're going to be taking it pretty easy, you'd imagine, past turn 15, where the Tech Pro is still incomplete, and it's a relatively long commute to do your practice start, unfortunately, down on the front straight.
Yeah, thank you, guys. So, Jack, not exactly the greatest session we wanted there for practice. Nobody has got a single clue what's going to happen in the qualifying later on this afternoon because of the disrupted session.
I mean, hey, we could end up getting a Fittipaldi pole, and I'd be very happy with that personally, but at the end of the day, yeah, very I can't speak today. Disrupted session. Hopefully it'll be more exciting in qualifying, a bit less disrupted, as drivers get used to the street circuit.
So the drivers have to pass the checkered flag. All the drivers must do so, and then do a secondary lap to form up on the grid. So, in effect, they've still got around about another 5 minutes of practice after the checkered flag, which is a little bit cheeky, but them's the rules. They've done an out lap, they've taken now the checkered flag, and now they must do a slow down lap to do a standing start on the grid for their practice. Then they get another lap. So effectively, you get 4 laps to have a bit of a shakedown. They've taken the checkered flag. They must adhere to the Delta rules. So while we wait, as all the drivers have now taken the flag, we have concluded all cars out on the circuit, bar Goethe and Martin, the two who have caused the red flags in this session. We'll hand back to the world feed, and then we'll sign off at the end. Thanks, Jack, for your company in this session as well. And we'll hand back to the world feed and get ready for the practice starts to come in.
The circuit being closed, the rules being closed, the high wind as well. And the one thing we do see, we always say, be careful of the curves, be careful of the white lines, but it's not like yesteryear where the paint was super slippery. It's high grip stuff. It's mandated by the FIA what you have to use to mark the extremity of the circuit. But the road markings that you see, that's just everyday stuff. And if we get more rain this weekend, adds another layer of the precarious nature of this circuit.
Something we used to see around Albert Park, didn't we? And the long run down to turn 11 with the road markings not being racing paint. There's a huge difference between the way that racing paint reacts to those wet conditions and indeed the road markings. Around here as well, we are having drivers run that low downforce setup that we've seen throughout the year in certain guises so far. They'll have a bit more of a feel for it though. Some of them, like Dennis Hauger, ran it back in Spa. A lot of them saw it in Monza. So I don't think we'll see as many errors perhaps in relation to peeling the downforce off the cars as we have seen in previous races. And definitely more optimized in terms of the way that they manage the downforce differential. You can see the difference there between the dams and the Red Bull livery machine front and rear of screen. There appears to be a split through the field as to who's running what. And that lower downforce rear wing, you can see Dennis Hauger running there, is a decent jump in terms of its straight line speed. So going to be interested to see how that plays out through qualifying and then into the race in terms of who's quick and who's slow.
So the teams and the drivers getting an opportunity to practice the start. Plenty the driver can do as they look for the ideal launch off the line. This is on board with Gabriel Bortoletto. Nicely positioned, the F2 paddock here. And so they will continue on, and then they will swing a left after turn 1 back to the F2 paddock, which is at the back of Government House, which is the largest building that you can see behind the Formula 1 pits and paddock. And a good opportunity for the drivers to bank some data here. They don't always get this opportunity actually on the grid. So fairly useful that they get this chance. They know the procedure. You've got to line up wherever you are in the running order. You can't just pick your favourite spot. You can't start a pull-up short. And they all know the rule book at this stage. Practice starts being completed. Fittipaldi with the fastest time on the board for Van Amersfoort Racing. Looking on the personnel at Invicta, who have a great opportunity to take the team's championship this year. They find themselves at the head of the field on 228.5 points after we had to split the final point in the sprint race between Hauger and Bortoletto last time out. Right, your practice results on screen right now. Enzo Fittipaldi top ahead of Kushmaini and Andrea Kimi Antonelli in 3rd position. Zane Maloney was 4th, and it was Hauger. Mini on debut in 6th, then it's Martins. Another debutant, Christian Mansell, finding himself in 8th, and then it's Correa. And championship leader Hadjar completing our top 10. We will journey to the second page, which begins with Crawford ahead of Aaron, then Vachor, and then Browning, our third new starter this weekend. Dirksen is ahead of Bortoleto, then it's Cordial, Goethe, who had a crash at turn 15, Marty, who spun at turn 6, then Miata in 20th, and the final two on the board, Villagomez and Coolen, complete our field.
Well, thanks to the guys in the world feed, my thanks to you, Jack, as well. Just a quick thing, Jack, as we've got another car stopped on the grid now. That is Joshua Dirtskin has pulled off just alongside the start-finish line. It's all going chaos today, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. Welcome me back to F2. I haven't been in the box for F2 in a while, and yet as soon as I get back in, things hit the fan.
Practice starts aborted as well, so because of that problem. And Sky just gone off air. Well, that's just great for let's hope Dudskin's going to be okay. We'll be back at 10:15 for the action from Formula 1 in their opening session. Go get some breakfast, everybody, and we'll see you later on. Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Alex Bond and Alex Jakes as well. We'll be back then. Qualifying coming up later on today in between FP1 and FP2 of Formula 1. We'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.